Ms. Francois brings her girlfriend Ms. Perry to Judge Lauren's courtroom in what appears to be a case of betrayal. She claims she gave Ms. Perry shelter when she had nowhere else to go, and she started having an affair with her son under her roof. Now Ms. Perry claims her son is the father of her child.
You have a friend, Ms. Perry, of a paternity test, taking Miss to go sleep on James.
Yes. Okay. I knew I being a God's helper. Yes.
Ms. Francois said she met Ms. Perry at a church picnic where she learned of her predicament. She decided to help her by providing food and shelter for her for free, and she betrayed her.
So you think she stabbed you in the back by sleeping with your son?
Oh, she did.
So, Ms. Perry, you see this differently.
Yes, I do.
You moved into her home and you accepted her help.
Contrary to what Ms. Francois claims, Ms. Perry said she was already with her son before she came to her house. She said that Ms. Francois was aware of this relationship. Ms. Francois gasped in shock, claiming she had no idea of such a relationship.
You were with her son how long before you moved in?
We were talking maybe about 2 or 3 weeks prior to that. Were you there when we got together?
Excuse me, my kids tell
Ms.
me
Francio said if she had known about the relationship, she wouldn't have offered Ms. Penny free accommodation. Ms. Penny said she had been talking with the son 2 to 3 weeks prior, that she was introduced as her son's girlfriend. Ms. Francois stared at her with disbelief.
Face she was on what planet or what? Because we wasn't together. I'm the one initiated it because
So how
I
do you think
didn't
we're a
know
cute
nothing.
couple if we're not together?
Excuse me, because I found out of your past.
A heated argument broke out between both women. Ms. Francois said part of the reason why she's doubtful about Ms. Penny's claim was because of her past. She was a lesbian. This all later came to light after she started living with them.
Suggesting that your children could somehow be harmed because Miss Perry is a lesbian seems incredibly far-fetched. You truly don't believe.
Ms. Perry said she was upfront with Ms. Francois from the very start. She told her that her son was the first man she had ever been with, that she had raised a good man. Ms. Francois wasn't having any of that. Her facial expression was filled with disgust.
What do you recall saying?
We were sitting on your porch, and I got introduced to her as the girlfriend.
So you're doubting that this child is your son's based upon what?
It's just the point how she did everything.
Ms. Francois said that Ms. Penny has never been honest with her. So how can she now be honest about the paternity of the child? That her lifestyle was a thing to be weary of, especially when she tried to hit on her. Mrs. Penny said nothing of that nature happened, that she respected her as the mother of her boyfriend.
Thank you for joining us today. Tell us.
Okay,
Do you believe her child is your child?
Ms. Francois' son was called to the stand to give his account. He said he believed he's the father of the baby, but he couldn't sign the birth certificate because Ms. Penny was still legally married to her ex. Ms. Francois also said she told her son not to sign anything until he did the paternity
She was
test.
married and the whole legal situation with that.
Ms. Mr. McCreary, you are the father.
Bam.
Ms. Francois said it's not the first time her son has been accused of getting women pregnant. It has happened 7 times. The son said it was a huge bone of contention at home, that he didn't want to get a DNA test, but Ms. Penny insisted they should because of his mother. Only the DNA result from Judge Lauren can bury the hatchet.
You've asked the court for time alone here before testimony begins to tell the court about your brother.
A sister, Ms. Gibson, appears in court to defend her dead brother against 3 women who claim he's the father of their respective kids. She's accompanied by her aunt, Ms. Pierce, who came to lend her support.
Women who all claim he fathered their children. circumstances surrounding you coming here today?
Okay. In October 2011, my father called me with a very devastating phone call.
Ms. Gibson
He told me
narrated the
that
gruesome
my
story
older
of how she
brother,
lost her
Quadratus,
brother.
had
With
been
glistened
shot.
eyes,
On
she
my
took
way to
several
the
pauses
hospital,
because
I
of
got
the
a phone
grief.
call from
She
my
said the
younger
different women
sister,
kept
and
popping
she
up
told me
after
that
her
he
brother's
didn't
demise,
make it.
claiming he was
She
the
told me
father
that
of their
he had
kids.
died.
She wants to find out the truth today.
My daughter's Zalayla.
And all three of you are here because you believe that GQ was the father of your
The
children.
three women were summoned into the
I'd
courtroom,
like to
Rose,
speak to you
Robs,
one at a
and Webb.
time,
Robs
and I wanna
opened the
start
floor
with
by
Ms.
giving her
Robs.
account
I
on
met
how she met the
GQ,
brother. They were in a
about 6 years
relationship, but he was
ago on the
constantly
train.
cheating on her, and she was
You
fed
know,
up and decided to
everything-
cheat on him too with her ex.
Around this time, I didn't tell him that I have had an affair with someone else.
Okay.
So everything was going good, and he had got incarcerated. So I ended up telling my ex that I was pregnant.
Robs got
you
pregnant
told your
after the
ex that the
affair,
baby
but
was
never told the
his?
brother
Yes,
she had an
Your Honor.
affair. The child took the name of her ex. This was confirmed by Ms. Gibson, hence the uncertainty concerning her paternity.
My baby father was gonna sleep with his son.
Woo! It's complicated now. Hold on, you gotta break this down for me, Ms. Webb.
You and me both,
one
right.
of your children's fathers was coming by to see.
Webb
His
took the
son.
stand.
His
She
son.
said she was also
And
dating
you
the brother
said
before he
to
died. They were
GQ,
neighbors. At the
since you were
time, her
dating,
baby
you
daddy
wanna
was still in the
stay too,
picture. The
just
baby
so
daddy
you-
usually comes around.
All night with binoculars looking through your window.
Oh, I get it. So your brother, that was just I'm gonna leave you alone with
But
him
I'ma
and
watch
see what
you.
happens. So no, I don't want to be here. But he had in his mind, you know your brother and your
Exactly.
nephew well. So he had in his mind, I'm gonna see what's going
So
on.
now
A
you see
rumor
our
started
doubt.
going around that Webb was sleeping with her baby daddy, that he was responsible for her pregnancy. That was the origin of the doubt concerning the paternity of the child.
The accident, like we weren't really supposed to have, you know.
His brother?
But when I say it was all of us, we was like in the truck. We was in the truck. We was
Rose took
riding
the stand to
around,
give her
like, his
own
brother
story.
had
She
left
started
one inside
crying. Ms. Gibson
McDonald's,
said
and
she doesn't know
then it
anything
happened.
about
You was
her,
with his
that she
brother?
contacted
I mean,
her aunt, Ms. Pierce,
sexually
via
or
Facebook.
anything
Rose said she was in a
like-
relationship with someone else during
He
the
had
time
a
of her
car, and then
pregnancy,
the brother
her
went in to get
ex-boyfriend.
some food. That's what you're saying, right? Okay.
Friend contacted me on Facebook.
The boyfriend?
Yes, ma'am. I guess the boyfriend that she was with when they accidentally slept together in the McDonald's parking lot in the van. And he told me that
Ms. Gibson
he
said she
had
started
no
digging
idea
around
that
after
there
the
was a
ex-boyfriend
different
contacted her. She
possibility
discovered
of
there
him
were
not being
other
the
baby
father.
daddies in Rose's life. This made her doubtful about her claims that her brother was the father of the child.
That Mr. Gibson is her father.
Ms. Gibson said she was most doubtful about Rose's kid because of her promiscuity. The judge and the audience couldn't wait any longer. Only the DNA results can determine the real
Ms.
father of these
Robinson,
kids.
you are suing your mother for paternity fraud and are here to prove that Mr. Moore is your biological father.
Daughter,
even though
36
your
years old,
mother
Ms.
put
Robinson brings her
another
own
man's
mother,
name
Ms.
on your
Harms, to
birth
court in a
certificate.
case
Is that
of birth
correct?
certificate
correct, Your
forgery,
Honor.
angrily
Ms. Harris,
confronting
you're
her for
certain
denying
Mr.
her the
Moore is
privilege of
not
knowing
your
who her
daughter's
real
father
father
and
was.
claim
Mrs.
her
Harms
case
says
of
the claim is
paternity fraud
outrageous.
is outrageous.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you plan to prove that today.
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, I don't feel that I'm the one that waited the 36 years. I feel that my mom waited 36 years to help me find who my father is. And I have always, tried to ask
Ms.
her
Robinson said
about
she
my
had always
father. I
tried
guess it
asking
was
her
part of
mother about her
past she didn't
father,
just
but
wanna
to
bring
no
up,
avail.
so it always
Ms.
got
Harms
pushed to the back
interjected that she had
burner, or I
always
was
told her who her
get the
real
hell out of
father
her face,
was.
leave
Ms.
her
Robinson
alone.
said she looked nothing like the man. Her mom said it doesn't matter.
For some reason, she was nervous.
It wasn't that I was nervous. I just didn't want to come here at that time to listen to any more of their lies.
Yeah, nobody wanted to deal with the past, but I'm the past.
Because
I need a
Ms.
dad.
Harms, in your mind, you're
Ms.
saying,
Harms
I
said
know
she has
who your
always been
father is
honest
and
with
I
her
already
daughter.
told you.
Yes, ma'am. I had already moved on.
The daughter didn't agree.
He is
She
not
said they
your
were
father.
even supposed to appear in court 3 weeks earlier, but her mom was nervous. The mom said she's lying.
Rumors in the small town we're from in Arkansas, everybody says that this man is my dad. You know, he's always came to me and said he's my dad.
Really?
But the thing was, I was always being sent with the other
Ms.
man.
Robinson
So
said she
if
heard a
I
lot
went
of
in-
rumors from where they came from that the man who was outside the courtroom,
Yes, I
Mr.
was
Moore,
with
was her
another
real
man.
dad.
To
A heated
another
argument
man.
broke
No,
between
you
her
are-
and
no,
her
you
mom.
were
The
not.
mom
That
said the
is a
rumors
lie,
are
Your
false.
Honor.
So I want to understand this. You were told specifically, Mr. Moore is not your father.
Yes, by my mother.
Did you ask the question? How did this come up?
She had just told me one day, because, you know, I used to go back and forth from Michigan to Arkansas. So I guess she felt that if I went down to Arkansas, I might
Ms.
see.
Robinson
Your
said
Honor,
her
she
mom
came to me
specifically
and
told her while
me
growing up that Mr.
if
Moore wasn't her
Vernon
real
ever
dad.
came to you and told you that he was your dad,
Her mom shook her head in disagreement.
And say in this courtroom, when people say to me, I did not have my father and I felt like there was a missing piece,
and it really
I say it because I have had my father and he is loving and kind and my #1 fan, and I could not imagine my life without him in
and
it.
that's all I want.
And when you say I never had that,
Ms.
I
Harms
feel
said the
for you
judge
because
shouldn't
I know
believe what her
you're
daughter is
missing.
saying, that the daughter and Mr. Moore are compulsive liars.
Okay?
First I have
Gray hair.
a birth certificate.
This
Okay.
is a
Ms.
birth
Robinson
certificate,
submitted
you
her birth
said?
Yeah, that was
certificate
my
as evidence
original
to the
birth
court. The
certificate right
signature
there.
on the father's side was very
it
neat,
has a
unlike the
signature.
one of her
Now,
mother's.
when I
When
looked
she
at
requested
that,
for
I
a new
seen that
birth
the signature
certificate
looked
because
new.
of an
It didn't
ID
look as old
application
as
she
my
was
mom's
doing, she
signature
discovered
on it.
there
But
was
I'm a
no
kid,
father's
so I went
signature.
along with
That
it.
was when it
Last
dawned
year,
on
I
her
needed
that
to get
her
a new
mother
ID.
forged the signature.
Me and Mr. Moore.
You on the left and Mr. Moore on the right.
And I also have another picture of our nose, Your Honor, when I was younger.
Oh, Lord.
This
'Cause I
is
had
side by
pictures of
side.
everybody. Every time
Ms.
I look
Robinson
in the mirror,
also
ever since I
submitted
looked at his
pictures
pictures,
showing her
I feel
resemblance
like
with
Mr.
Mr.
Moore,
Moore.
where
The
he
pictures
gone.
were
So if
displayed
that
on
ain't
the
what it
screen for
is, I
everyone
need to
to
be
see.
proved
She
wrong
also
today.
stated that Mr. Moore has premature gray hair, just like her. Another picture showing the similarities of their noses was displayed.
Mr. Moore, you are not her father.
Mr. Moore was called to the courtroom. He said he was in a
Who is my
sexual
daddy?
teenage relationship with Ms. Harms before she got pregnant. Ms. Harms said he's lying. Mr. Moore said he had always believed that he was the father, and he tried being involved in her life, but he wasn't allowed. Only the DNA results can settle this decades-long family feud. Show results.
Ms. Lusk, you and your mother say you have no doubt whatsoever when it comes to knowing who your 3-year-old daughter,
A grieving
Samari's
mother, Ms.
biological
Page, drags a
father
young
is.
woman, Ms.
Yes, Your
Lusk,
Honor.
to court who claims her
Unfortunately,
deceased
the
son
man you
is the
claim
father
is
of
her
her
father
3
has
years old
died,
daughter.
and
Ms. Page
now
claims
you
Ms.
find
Lusk is
yourself
lying
facing
because she
off
wants to
against
cash
his
in from her
mother, who
son's
is
life
just
insurance
as
policy,
convinced
which was
that
worth
she is not her daughter's
$50,000.
grandmother.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your daughter.
It's been more than extremely difficult being pregnant at 16, having to still go through school. These
Ms.
past
Lusk
4
said she
years,
got
everything
pregnant when
has
she was
been on
16
me and
years
my
old,
mother.
that she
And I
raised
feel
her
it's
daughter
completely
alone,
unfair
that she
because
never got
he has
any
a whole
assistance
other
from Ms.
side. He has a
Page.
whole
Ms.
other
Page
side to
interrupted
our
her
family.
and a
My
heated
daughter is
argument broke
beautiful,
out.
and you
With
missed
raised
out on
voices,
4
they exchanged
years, almost
words.
4 years of
Judge
my
Lauren
child's
had to
life.
calm both parties down.
I had
insurance on
What
my
money?
son. I had an insurance policy. They're out
That we knew nothing about.
Let her
That we
speak.
knew nothing about.
Unless it's
Ms. Lusk
proven
said
it's
she had
not
been
my
trying
son.
to get a
You never
DNA
put
test
it
for the
on
past
anything
3
about
years.
it.
Ms. Page said Ms. Lusk only wanted a
You said
portion
you
of the
have an
insurance
insurance
policy,
policy.
$50,000,
And so this
and she
insurance
never met her.
policy
Ms.
is
Lusk
in the
said
amount
they've
of
met before when she came to see her
$50,000
son,
you
and she
submitted
didn't know
that paperwork to the
anything about
court.
the life insurance policy.
Same time, this was my first time meeting you, Miss Page. Her exact words were, "You look like his type. You're very pretty, very small."
Miss Lusk and
she
Miss
said the
Anderson, my
same
son didn't
thing.
have a particular type. He was in a
Ms. Page said her son was in a committed
Ms. Page,
relationship
you're
before he
saying your son
died,
was in
and
a
it was not with
relationship
Ms.
with a
Lusk.
different woman,
She said
a
another woman had
long-term
come forth
relationship.
earlier, claiming her son was the father of her child, and the DNA result came back negative.
Facebook or something like that.
No, ma'am.
So please respond, Ms. Anderson. How do you know what happened?
I contacted Miss Page through Facebook to tell her to call me. She called me, and that's when I broke the news to her about my daughter being pregnant by
Ms.
her
Lusk's
son.
mother,
Okay.
who was
And
also
so you
present
had
in
a
court, said she
conversation.
was the
During
one
that
that contacted Ms.
conversation,
Page
what
when her
was
daughter
said?
got pregnant on Facebook, that she never got a positive response from her.
The stroller.
What led up to that, Miss Page?
Hold on,
one at a time.
You made a post.
I know anything about a stroller because I'm not providing a stroller for a
When the baby
child
was
that
born,
doesn't
Ms.
know
Page
it
was
was
not
a
allowed
walk
any
wherever
visitation
we're
rights
at.
because of what she had posted on
Mari was
Facebook
born.
concerning
Did
the
you
paternity of the
allow
child,
Ms.
that the
Page
child should not be
opportunity to
named
see
after her
her?
son.
Did
The
you
birth
say,
certificate
"The
presented to
baby's
the court
here
showed that the
now,
child was
and I
still
liked
named
you"?
after her son.
When I laid down and was intimate with him.
No,
That's
it's not,
permission.
it's not been
That's
proven.
permission.
It's not been proven.
But it will be today.
You're not
but it
his
will
wife.
be today. You're
not his
absolutely
wife.
correct. I don't have to be, and you're not either.
A quarrel
You wasn't
broke
in the
between the
room,
three
okay?
women.
Mother.
Apparently,
Okay,
they've
and
been
I'm
in
his baby
constant
mother.
communication
No,
with
you're
one
not.
another
Yes,
since
ma'am.
the birth of the
Absolutely.
child.
What
Both
I'm not
parties resented
understanding
each
is it
other.
seems
The only
like
thing
you all
holding them
have
together
had-
was the baby, which Ms. Page is adamant doesn't belong to her late son.
Now, the animosity you all have built up, that is because you've handled the situation inappropriately. A situation this
Ms.
delicate
Page said she asked people around, family members and relatives, including the friends of her late son, and none of them knew Ms. Lusk. Ms. Lusk said she was not aware the son was in another relationship until after he died. She found out on social media. It came as a shock to her.
The probability of relatedness between Miss Page and Samari Page is 99.
Ms. Lusk said she couldn't even attend the funeral, that Ms. Page was mean to her, slandering her on Facebook and calling her premature daughter ugly. Ms. Page didn't hold back. She repeated her statement in the courtroom to the dismay of everyone present. Only the DNA results can stop this squabble.
Curtis, you have brought your mother, Ms. Hall, court today because you say she hid the identity of your
A daughter,
father from
Ms.
you
Curtis,
for
brings her mother,
14
Ms. Hall, to court for
years.
deceiving
Now
her for
today,
14
there's a
years
man
about the
waiting outside
identity
the
of her real
courtroom that
father.
your mother
Ms. Hall
believes
tells her
to
that the
be your
man waiting outside the
biological
courtroom
father,
could
yet
be
you
her
still have
biological
no
father, but she's doubtful
idea
about it.
if
Ms.
that's
Hall
the
admits
truth.
to deceiving her daughter for years.
Has been lying to me for the past years of my life, which was time was 14 years old, and that the man at the time was not my father. She said to me, "I want you to take
Ms.
it to your
Curtis said
grave
she
if
learned
your
the
mother
truth from her
never owns up
grandmother,
and
who
tells
sat her
you
down
yourself."
and told her
I said,
who her
"Okay."
real
And
biological
I felt
father
that it
was.
the
She
truth
said she
because I
always
felt
felt
like
she
I
was adopted because
My
the man
father,
her
he
mother
really-
said was her real father at the time never showed her any affection. There was no bond between both of them.
Kurt lived a pretty much like a fast lifestyle.
Okay.
And you know, which attracted me to him. And being young, at the time when I got pregnant, I didn't even know that
Ms.
I
Hall
was
said she
pregnant,
never
'cause I
told her
didn't know anything
daughter about her
the body.
father
You didn't
because
know
she
what
got
it meant.
pregnant
You
at
were
the
just
age
so
of 15
young.
years.
Yes. And
She
then
was
what
young
happened,
and
about
scared.
a month
She didn't know
passed by,
anything
and
about the
I would
female
say
body.
I started,
That was when she
my
met
psych-
Kirk,
and I was like, oh.
before meeting the man whom she told her daughter was her father.
what your grandmother said. What did she tell you?
She began to tell me her own version of the story about who my alleged father at the time.
Ms. Curtis said when she confronted her mother after speaking with her grandmother, she told her a different version of events. She told her that the man at home with them wasn't her real father. Ms. Curtis told her that she was already aware that her grandmother told her. Her mom told her a different name entirely, and the name was not Kirk.
The time that I set forth for her was at the age of 16.
Ms. Hall said she wanted to tell her daughter the truth at the age of 16 on her own terms.
I was the one who took care of you.
That she was the one who raised her and took care of her. Ms. Curtis interjected that she didn't have a father growing up. Ms. Hall told her that it wasn't important. Ms. Curtis started crying that she missed out on a lot of things because of the lack of a father figure in her life.
Childhood life through me. She wanted me to do the things that she wasn't able to do. I didn't even go to the prom because I don't know how to dance. I don't know how to do anything.
Ms. Curtis, with tears in eyes, said her mother was trying to live her childhood through her. She wanted her to do what she couldn't. She never had a life of her own. She never went to the prom. Her mother interrupted her that she had no clue what she wanted. She was too young to know.
My heart dropped to my feet because I've been to the father-daughter dance. I could only imagine everybody getting ready at school and chattering, talking about the father-daughter dance, and you saying to yourself, well, I guess that's somewhere I can't go.
Well, actually, Your Honor,
Ms. Curtis said her mother told her never to ask her alleged father for any stuff, only her, so she never had any bond with the man. She was trying to isolate her because she didn't want her to discover that he wasn't her father at the time.
This is the first time she'll ever see the letter.
He does state he's willing to be the father she needs and deserves, and it's signed Kirk.
And Your Honor, I know you may not understand how I feel
Ms.
about
Curtis
this
submitted
right
a letter
here,
to the
but
court from
that's where
Kirk when he was in
feel
prison.
like
The letter was written to her mother. She found the letter at home. Her mom had hidden it. In the letter, which was displayed for all to see, Kirk said he was willing to be the father she deserved.
Mr. Whitaker, you are
Mr. Kirk was summoned to take the stand. He said he was doubtful about being the father of Ms. Curtis because Ms. Hall was also with another man when she said she was pregnant. Ms. Curtis, still teary-eyed, said, how can she believe any of them when they're not even sure themselves? That both of them are compulsive liars. There's too much doubt. Only the DNA result can solve this mystery.
Ms. Autry, you say the defendant is taking advantage of your son by pinning a baby on him, and you have physical proof
A mother, Ms.
that her
Autry, drags her
2-year-old
daughter-in-law,
Skyla
Ms.
is
Martin,
not
to
your
court after
grandchild.
failing
That
to stop her
correct?
from
Your
getting
Honor.
married
Ms.
to her
Martin,
son.
you
She's now trying to
claim
prove that her son is not the father
that the
of her
plaintiff
2-year-old
is a
daughter. Ms. Martin claims
monster-in-law
Ms.
and is
Autry is a
denying your daughter
monster-in-law,
only
and
because
she's
she
trying to
doesn't like
sabotage
you.
her
You
marriage
need
with her
help
son.
and hope to get some once the results are revealed. Ms. Martin is taking advantage of your son.
Well, she entrapped my son by marrying him, by giving him things like money, clothes, cars.
Ms.
you name
Autry
it,
said
she
Ms.
give it
Martin
to him.
entrapped
She
her
just wanted
son by
me to
giving
call
him
off
stuff
shit
like
about old
money and
tramp.
clothes while being a tramp. The judge had to refrain her from using derogatory words in the courtroom. Ms. Autry said she was doing all this because she wanted a man of her own, which was her son.
She's giving him money. Miss Audrey, come on, let's be respectful.
I don't like her.
Why you want to? And look, you don't have to like her, but you can use respectful language.
Ms. Martin said she never entrapped her son, that her son was also buying stuff for her in return. Ms. Autry abruptly interjected and said that it was impossible for his son to be doing all that because he didn't have a job. He was at home all the time, that her son had no money.
me what's going
I got a
on.
phone call that she was getting married down the street from my house. So I got out of my bed and I started walking down the street to where she was getting married at.
Ms. Autry said her son didn't tell her he was getting married to Ms. Martin, but instead he decided to have a shotgun wedding without her knowledge. She heard the news from somebody else because her son knew she would have stopped it. She wanted to grace the wedding ceremony unannounced with the intention of crashing it, but the location was changed.
Friend sent me walking and she said, "Where are you going?" And I said, "To stop this wedding." So she gave me a ride and she dropped me out. So I'm up there trying to stop the wedding.
Ms. Martin said they had to move the location of the wedding because of her mother-in-law that she's crazy. The whole guest had to move because they were avoiding Ms. Autry. She is a renowned troublemaker, and they didn't want her to create a scene. She repeated again that she's crazy.
So you've never cared for Miss Martin?
It ain't so much as I never cared for Miss Martin. It's just that she has been very disrespectful from day one.
Ms. Autry said she never liked Ms. Martin and that she disrespected her when she came to her house. Ms. Martin said she disrespected her first, that she can only respect those that also respected her. Even at the hospital during the childbirth, Ms. Autry caused a scene saying that's not her son's baby.
To have.
She's
so
too.
I know
They
that's
haven't
not
grew
my son's
yet.
baby.
I mean, they grew.
All right, let me see this evidence.
Like the baby's supposed to come out with full-blown eyebrows. You act like she's supposed to come out with full-blown eyebrows.
She do.
No, she does.
He did.
Ms. Autry said they called her Queen DNA because she always performs a DNA test on all her son's children, and that this was not her first rodeo with women claiming that her son is the father of their kids.
Look at the right foot.
State your name for the court.
Rebecca Cooper, Your Honor.
Miss Cooper, you are Miss Autry's daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
Look at her eyebrows.
Ms. Cooper was called as a witness. She's Ms. Autry's daughter. She said she believed the child belongs to her brother. She has a very good bond with the child because she spends a lot of time with her sister-in-law, and there's no bad blood between them. Ms. Martin said if the son and the sister is okay with the child, why is Ms. Autry not okay with it?
Every week.
The biological father is Mr. Martin.
I'll take that for 200, Your Honor.
Mr. Gout was called to the stand. He was the ex-boyfriend to Ms. Autry's daughter. He claimed he had an affair with Ms. Martin, that he believed he was the father of the 2-year-old child. She said Ms. Martin told her once that there's a possibility he could be that father. Only the DNA results can stop this from turning into a fist fight. 19 years? That's how long he had waited. How long he had believed, known that he was robbed of his daughter. And today, Mr. Wheat stood in court, ready to reclaim what he had lost and make up for 19 years of lost time.
Mr. Wheat, you filed your case because you claim you've been robbed as a father. You are desperate to prove to the defendant that you fathered her 19-year-old daughter, Sierra Sloan, and once you want to make up for lost time. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Across the courtroom, Ms. Grider stood with a knowing expression. She had heard his claims before and had hoped, once upon a time, that he was the father too. But the truth wasn't built on hope. Facts would settle the matter once and for all.
Ms. Grider, you say, as much as you would like the plaintiff to be your daughter's biological father, facts are facts, and he isn't her dad. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Then there was Sierra, the young woman caught in this paternity storm. 19 years of uncertainty, 19 years of never really knowing where she came from. She had doubts, but today, she would get her answer.
Ms. Sloan, you say you are the victim in this paternity chaos and deserve to know who your dad is.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Wheat's voice trembled with emotion as he spoke about everything he had missed. First words, first steps, school plays, birthdays, graduations. He had imagined a life where he had been there, where his daughter had grown up knowing his name, his voice, his love. But instead, he was a stranger, fighting to prove his place in her life. And he was convinced that Sierra was his.
Mr. Wheat, you testified that you were robbed as a father. Explain.
Yes, I believe she is mine. So I want her to make up for all the lost time so she can meet her sisters.
And so what does it feel like knowing that you may have missed 19 years of your daughter's life?
It's hurtful, very hurtful.
But Ms. Grider had her own version of events. She was 19, young, and reckless, living in the moment without thinking about consequences. And let's just say those moments weren't spent with just one man. No, there were four potential fathers.
Ms. Grider, so you say, unfortunately, as much as you would like your daughter to be Mr. Wheat's biological child, you just say she is not.
Right.
Explain to the court why you are so certain.
Because I was 19, I was young, dumb, and full of eggs, and I was doing me.
One of her boyfriends was her live-in boyfriend at the time. Another was a man she met through mutual friends. Then there was Mr. Wheat, a one-night encounter, a fleeting moment in a Texas nightlife club. And the fourth? Well, let's just say Texas nightlife had a way of making things complicated.
How many guys were you with during the window of time your daughter was conceived?
4.
4 different guys, and Mr. Wheat is one of them.
Yes.
So can you tell the court, how is it you were with these guys?
One of them was my boyfriend. He was living with me at the time, and he went away.
When she found out she was pregnant, she did what she thought was right. She told them all, every single one of them. But only one man had been there when Sierra was born. Only one man had stepped up, signed the birth certificate, and taken responsibility. And it wasn't Mr. Wheat. That, she argued, was the truth, and DNA wasn't going to change it.
So when Sierra was born, you were there.
Yes, ma'am. I was a doctor.
Signed the birth certificate.
Yes, ma'am.
You named her.
Yes, ma'am. After a Chevy truck.
See, that wasn't me.
Still a beautiful name, Sierra. So, Mr. Wheat, I see your emotion here. I see your face, because as I talk about all of these memories and naming her and all of this.
For years, Sierra had lived in the shadows of uncertainty. She had been raised by Mac Grider, the man who claimed her as his own, but deep down, she needed the truth. She needed to know who her real father was, and that truth was now written in black and white.
Mr. Wheat, you are not the father.
Despite Mr. Wheat's numerous claims and undiluted convictions, science has spoken. Mr. Wheat had come to court expecting justice. What he got was heartbreak. Now, Mr. Grider, the man who had been there from the beginning, can go home with the family knowing that Mr. Wheat's claim of his daughter is in the past. But first, the judge had to read the second result just to fulfill all righteousness.
It has been determined by this court, Mr. Grider, you are not the father.
This is Miss Lockridge, a determined mother, and Mr. Tidwell, a man convinced he's been wrongly accused of fatherhood. The stakes? A 10-month-old baby boy named King, and a DNA test that will finally put the debate to rest. Miss Lockridge isn't just here for answers, but for accountability. She says she's 100% certain that Tidwell is the father, and she's had enough of his absence.
Ms. Lockridge, you've dragged the defendant, Mr. Tidwell, to court because he has refused to acknowledge your 10-month-old son, King. You are 100% sure he's the father and claim today's results will prove your case.
But Tidwell isn't buying it. He suspects that Ms. Lockridge is up to something. He claims they were never in a serious relationship, just casual hookups, and he was completely blindsided when she dropped the pregnancy news.
Mr. Tidwell, you say you were never in a serious relationship with Ms. Lockridge, and you were stunned when she told you she was pregnant. The timing leads you to suspect that baby King's father must be another man.
According to Ms. Lockridge, he hasn't lifted a finger to help with diapers or clothes, yet he had the nerve to name the child King. The irony isn't lost on her. How is she supposed to raise a king without his father in the picture? However, Tidwell suspects there's another man in the picture.
Rich, tell me about Mr. Tidwell's relationship with your son.
Your Honor, Mr. Tidwell does not have a relationship with my son. The only time he's actually seen my son is when I've made it a convenience for him and brought him to him. That means traveling 4 hours on bus, driving 2 hours on the car to drive to him. He hasn't helped with diapers. He barely helped with any clothes, and it hurts. It's frustrating. He named my son King.
As the courtroom heats up, we get two completely different stories. Lockridge insists they were in a relationship for at least a year, while Tidwell says it was nothing more than 6 years of casual flings. And then there's the bombshell. She left town for 2 years and had another child. Tidwell suggests that the child could be his too, but Lockridge shuts that down immediately.
So take me back to this relationship. I want to understand all
There
this.
was no relationship.
Just, what, casual sex?
Yes.
We were on and off for 6 years. We were together for my understanding, how he led me to believe I was single, or I was with him in a committed relationship for at least a year. And then I was my side, my personal opinion. We were together for a year.
Then comes the real drama. How did he find out about the pregnancy? He didn't hear it from her directly. She left an ultrasound and a note on his bed. No conversation, no warning, just a silent bombshell. Tidwell says this only fueled his doubts. Why not tell him face to face?
You said she's done some things that make you feel like you weren't the only person she was sleeping with at time
I wasn't,
King
Your
was
Honor.
conceived. Tell the court.
She has another guy that she was sleeping with, not personally, but we weren't.
There was nobody else.
We weren't in
Snoop,
a-
I'm not gonna drive. I'm not gonna ride the bus 4 hours.
We were not
Take
in a
3
serious
buses to
relationship
come
or
sleep
no
with you.
type
If I
of-
got
Tidwell maintains that another man is responsible for the pregnancy, and she's trying to pin it on him. Lockridge disagrees. She told the court that she was afraid of his reaction and didn't want a scene in front of his brother.
Ms. Lockridge, you leave the ultrasound picture in the note. You agree to
Oh,
that?
I totally did because he invited his brother over. His brother was there. That's the sole purpose why I did not tell him I was pregnant. This
Or
is how
call
you
me-
react. I'm not fixing to have this reaction in front of your brother when I find out I'm finally pregnant. I finally get something from you.
Lockridge says she went to great lengths to be with Tidwell. 4-hour bus rides, countless messages, even recordings of their baby's heartbeat. But when it came time to give birth, she did it alone. 36 grueling hours in labor, no father in sight. Tidwell says that's not his fault. He had a job and wasn't about to drop everything for a child he wasn't even sure was his.
During that time, is he participating at all?
Not at all. Not at all. He didn't care about. I texted him when I was every doctor's appointment, all my weight gains, the weight changes. I even sent him voice recordings of the heartbeat, all that, like the works. When I had my son, I was in labor for 36 hours. Completely by myself, to the point where the nurse that was with me.
The judge had to call on Deborah, Tidwell's mother, to get more insight into Ms. Lockridge's relationship with her son. But as expected, she sided with her son despite her son admitting to being intimate with Lockridge.
Mr. Tidwell's mother.
Yes.
What do you believe, ma'am? Do you believe this is your grandson?
She is very obsessed with my son.
I am not obsessed. I was in love with him.
All she talked about is how much she wants to be with him and how she's got a prayer closet at home for him.
Now, all the back and forth is about to be settled once and for all. Ms. Lockridge seems to have some merits. Is Tidwell Baby King's father, or has Lockridge been fighting the wrong battle all along? The DNA test results are in.
Mr. Tidwell are not his father.
Mercedes Henderson had grown up believing Walter Henderson was her father. She carried his last name and waited for the warmth of acceptance that never came. Instead, she was treated differently from her siblings. It gnawed at her. Deep inside, she always knew something was off.
Ms. Henderson, you claim that you believed Mr. Henderson was your biological father, but at the age of 15, Mr. Rycraw claimed he is your dad. You are doubtful and have opened today's case to get the truth.
And then, at 15, another name surfaced, William Rycraw. There are people that come hoping to be the father. That's not William. He wasn't just some man from the past. He was convinced. He knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that she was his child.
Mr. Rycraw, you say you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that Ms. Henderson is your daughter. You are here with her mother's twin sister, who claims that she too is certain you are the biological father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
He had been waiting, hoping. The connection was instant when they met, or so he believed. You know that feeling when you see what is yours? Okay, you don't know, but still, William held her like a long-lost daughter. But Mercedes needed more than feelings. She needed proof.
Start with you. How has life been without knowing who your father is?
You know, it's lonely. My kids, they want to know their grandparents. And my daughter, she tells me all the time, Mom, we're going to find your dad. So, you know, I'm just ready. I want to be close to somebody. I want to be close to them.
Her Aunt Sharon, twin sister to Mercedes' late mother, stood firmly in William's corner. Sharon has seen similarities between William and Mercedes. Her late sister told her that William was Mercedes' father and that she was certain that the DNA would agree.
And then just to know that my sister's resting in her grave and that my niece needs to know who her family really is. I mean, I just need to know too for sure so she can get a peace of mind so we can all move on. But the point is, either way it go.
And then there was Walter, the man she had called her father her entire life. He had been married to her mother. So why did he doubt it? His answer was chilling. She had left California to visit family in Arkansas. When she returned, she was suddenly pregnant. Walter had his suspicions, but instead of demanding the truth, he made a cruel bargain.
Cheated, or you assume this is my baby? She was pregnant before she left.
Well, Your Honor, actually, when I talked to her, I told her, if it's the girl, it's ours. If it's the boy, you gotta go.
Oh, Oh, so you had an inkling, you had a suspicion.
That it wasn't mine.
Are you on the birth certificate?
No.
He never asked for a test, never fought to be sure. Walter had taken her in, but always at arm's length. He was a father on paper, but probably not in heart. Still, the past often comes calling when you least expect it. However, the biggest revelation was yet to come.
My sister, when it comes to telling the truth on certain things, they'll beat around the bush. And like she didn't answer him when she came back, she didn't tell her the truth either.
Why do you think your sister didn't tell the truth?
Mercedes's mother had been involved with both men, her husband Walter and William, the secret lover. Their affair was a hushed-up scandal buried beneath years of deception. Sharon, the aunt, had always known. But was it her place to tell? But now, no more secrets, no more lies. The results are in, and the judge starts with the secret lover.
Relates to this other gentleman. The probability of paternity was determined to be 0.00%. He's not your biological father.
Get the medic. Get the medic.
Someone call the medic, please.
Well, that leaves either Henderson or William as the father. Could Mercedes's aunt be telling the truth about William? If she is, how does she start navigating the relationship? Is Mr. Henderson about to lose someone he had accepted as his daughter all this while?
Mr. Henderson, you are not the father.
It appears Mercedes's aunt might be saying the truth after all. Twins share a deep bond, so it's safe to say her sister has been real with her. A single piece of paper held the truth Mercedes had been waiting her whole life for. Nothing can go wrong now.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Rycroft, you are not the father.
You are, Dad.
I'm so sorry.
Monica Myers had spent her entire life in the dark, haunted by a question that no child should ever have to ask. Who is my father? Not once, not twice, but 13 times, her mother had thrown out different names, each a potential answer. But today, the guessing game would finally end. Today, science would expose the truth.
Ms. Myers, you have brought your mother, Ms. Madrigal, to court today because you claim she has no idea who your biological father is. You say your mother gave you a list of 13 possible men, and you are hoping to determine who your father is today.
Two men sat in court, both summoned for the same reason, both waiting to hear if they had unknowingly fathered a daughter. For one of them, this day would be a life-changing revelation. But for Monica, this was about more than just biology. This was about closure, about knowing where she came from. Her mother, Samantha Madrigal, stood beside her, almost amused.
You admit to having a laundry list of potential fathers, but hope today answers your daughter's lifelong question. Now, Ms. Myers,
Ms. Myers had been robbed of a father, but worse, she had been robbed of certainty. As a child, she had always felt different, not truly belonging. She had begged her mother for answers, only to be met with half-truths and dismissive laughs.
circumstances that started your search for your biological father.
When I was 13 years old, I had a father figure in my life, and he died at that age. And you know, when he died, I needed closure. I needed somebody to be there.
Samantha had been young and reckless, living fast, unconcerned about consequences. And now, decades later, that past has come knocking. But even now, she brushed it off. The 13 men? Exaggeration? Fabrication? Monica disagreed. These weren't ghosts. They were real, flesh and blood men who had no idea they might have a daughter.
Madrigal, as you're giving your daughter this list, and I do not mean this in a joking way,
right? You
couldn't narrow it down from 13?
You know, the 13 that she's named it's like 13 ghosts, fabricated.
What about Pick Any Man in Seattle?
Monica might be hurting, but her mother, Samantha, feels that this whole exercise is fruitless. She had been a good mother, and her husband had been a great father to Monica, so she finds it difficult to understand what Monica's problems were exactly.
Came from, I don't know, nothing.
He came from me.
Yeah,
Doesn't
I knew
matter.
you're half of the
Doesn't
family,
matter.
but that's only half
Nobody
the story.
Else matters.
That's
can't
only
no
half
man,
the story.
Can't no man raise me better than you can, even though it doesn't even matter. So save it.
You
save
raised
it.
me?
Oh, I raised you.
No, you didn't.
I raised you.
You weren't
Monica,
even there.
stop
So
it.
anyways.
Ms. Myers, you claim that you left home when you were 15 years old.
Yeah, I did.
One of them, Keith McCraney, walked into the courtroom with a smirk. He had come in with his daughter who looked set for a fight. Keith remembered that night well, 3 minutes to be exact. That was how long it had taken. And after those 3 minutes...
Mr. McCraney, thank you for coming to join us and submitting to the paternity testing. I want to ask you first, you do know Ms. Myers' mom, Ms. Madrigal.
Yes, I did.
Please state how you met her.
You know, we got together, she came over, she told me she thought I was sexy, whatever, good looking.
Okay, we had sex. It was a 3-minute thing.
Although Keith now accepts that 3 minutes is enough to fertilize a woman, he couldn't help but smile at the irony of 3 minutes changing your life forever. Samantha had left his house and gone straight to another man's bed. Same night, same circumstances. So, really? Was he supposed to believe he was the father?
I couldn't believe it, 3 minutes. I understand it doesn't take that, but...
So you
it takes 2
instantly
seconds to
knew
get
that it
pregnant?
was your 3 minutes of fame that had gotten her there?
Well, Your Honor, I
not how it
also
happened.
found out, Your Honor, that when she left my house...
Monica had said that she didn't like Keith, and she showed it in a fierce back and forth with him and his daughter. But the other potential father, Derek Smith, was different. No smirks, no cocky remarks. Could he be the father? The DNA results are ready.
His picture on Facebook with you and your mom talking about, oh yeah, well, is this person my dad and blah, blah, blah.
I did that because I wanted people
but
to see.
If he's such a bad guy, then why would you even put him on Facebook and say, oh yeah, well, is he my dad?
Monica had not hidden her disdain for Keith and his family. According to her, Keith's family had maltreated her because they were convinced she wasn't Keith's daughter. The assumption that she might be his daughter had driven me against her. She didn't want to know what they would do if it was confirmed that she was indeed his daughter. She wants the DNA to point to any of the 13 guys but Keith. Will the results listen?
That Mr. Smith, you are not Monica's father.
I never thought I'd have to hear that. I still love you, though.
It's okay.
When it comes to Miss Monica Myers, Mr. Keith McCraney, it has been determined by this court that you are the father.
There it is.
This was supposed to be a paternity case, but it felt more like an emotional battlefield. On one side, a concerned mother convinced her daughter was spiraling out of control. The mother was adamant. Her daughter's reckless lifestyle meant there was no way Mr. Boyce was the father. She insisted her daughter had been with multiple men and that Mr. Boyce was being deceived.
Today we have the case of Coe v. Coe, mother versus daughter. Miss Coe, you say you're here today because your daughter is an out-of-control teenager and she needs help. Furthermore, you claim that you have serious doubts that your daughter's boyfriend, Mr. Boyce, is the father of your 7-month-old grandson.
On the other hand, a defiant teenager clinging to the one thing she was sure of, her baby's father. And then there was the young man at the center of it all, unknowingly waiting for the truth that could destroy everything he thought he knew. From the beginning, this case promises to be wild.
You say Mr. Boyce has been a good father to the baby, but that your daughter has numerous sexual partners.
The accusations flew like daggers. The equally stubborn daughter swore she had made mistakes, but was certain of one thing. Her baby belonged to Mr. Boyce. She believes her mother is a nuisance, a disturbance sent to make her life harder. But her mother talks to the judge.
You have also petitioned the court to demand that your daughter attend parenting classes. Now, Ms. Coe, you dispute your mother's claims. You say you are positive that Mr. Boyce is your baby's father and say today's result of the paternity test will prove your mother wrong.
This wasn't just about paternity. This was years of pent-up resentment, rebellion, and a fractured relationship between mother and daughter. The mother claimed her daughter was out of control, bringing thugs into the house with no regard for consequences, and consequences did come.
A police officer, not once, but twice.
Hitting a police officer.
She punched a police officer twice. I get the phone call, go up to the school, I get there. I was thankful that I knew this police officer. He looks at me and he says, "This is your daughter?"
Why would she do such a thing? Zaire had her reasons. If her mother, Mrs. Coe, had not abandoned her, maybe she would have turned out better. However, the mom denied the atrocious claims. She makes it clear that her daughter wants a carefree lifestyle without acknowledging the dangers.
My mother and her girlfriend just jumped on me. You come mess them up.
I said her girlfriend just jumped on me, and I did have somebody come over there.
She made that phone call. Them guys, they loaded up. They came to my house. They bust out every window. They busted out my car. They destroyed my house. This was 1 week before I was
That's your car?
That's my car.
Now that she is pregnant, the mother wants things to be done properly. Although she had been there when her daughter needed her most, she recognized that her behavior meant that the paternity of the child was uncertain. She had taken the bulls by the horn and spoken to Zaire's boyfriend.
I went over to my best friend's house and he was there.
So now, what I believe, and you can tell me if I'm right, Mom, you're worried now about this cycle repeating itself.
Exactly.
The young man, Mr. Boyce, had done everything right. He had stood by the baby, taken on responsibility, and believed in the relationship. But today, his entire world teetered on the edge of a single envelope. He had loved Zaire, and he's ready to prove it.
You don't have to feel ashamed about that.
I was there for you.
If you want more episodes of Paternity Court, make sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell. Are you worried for your baby? You don't want your baby to have to grow up and feel the things you felt? What are your hopes for your son? What do you want for him?
I just want him to have up for his parents. And I don't want him to grow up like I did, and I don't want him to run the streets like I did, because I don't want him.
The judge laid out the facts, her voice steady, cutting through the tension in the room. The mother insisted she had told Mr. Boyce from the beginning that a test was necessary. The daughter, however, confessed there had been another man, a slip, a mistake, a moment she couldn't take back. But in her heart, she was still certain. Mr. Boyce was the father, and then the results.
The paternity of this particular child, but we also know that this child is very important to you.
Yeah, he really is.
Am I correct?
Yes.
Please tell the court about that.
I feel like from the beginning I knew it was a possibility, but at the same time, you know what I'm saying, he made me grow more, you know what I'm saying, since he been around. Because my mom, she passed away, and once I told her about it, you know what I'm saying, she just, oh, that's my grandbaby.
The air was thick, suffocating. The mother sat rigid, her daughter silent, and Mr. Boyce hopeful. The judge read the results.
I'm really, really proud of you. I really am. I want you to know that. And you know who else is? And as, you know, as much of a stand-up man, you know, you're being in this decision, in this situation, I should say, you're being a really mature individual.
Mr. Boyce was not the father. His face drained of color. He sat there, frozen, as if his mind refused to process what his ears had just heard. The weight of betrayal crushed him, pressing against his chest and stealing the air from his lungs. He had loved this child, devoted himself to him, and was convinced that he was the father, no matter the whispers or doubts.
He did you.
Ms. Cope, but you have told this court that you think it could possibly be Mr. Boyce or maybe someone else. Okay. Let's go to the results, okay? Jerome, do you have the results?
Here you go, Your Honor.
But he wasn't. The mother let out a sharp breath. Relief, vindication. The daughter? Her confidence shattered in an instant. She had sworn she was sure, convinced herself there was no other way. But now, the truth had spoken. And Mr. Boyce? He had built his world around a lie. The judge's voice cut through the stunned silence. There were lessons to be learned here. Recklessness had consequences. Deception had victims. And in the middle of it all, an innocent child would soon grow up to ask the same question his father had asked today. Who am I? Justice had been served, but it left behind nothing but heartbreak.
Mr. Boyce, you are not the father.
The courtroom was packed, and the air was thick with tension. On one side stood Bishop House, a man of God and a leader in his community, now entangled in a paternity battle that threatened his reputation. On the other hand, Ms. Webster was a young woman caught between multiple lovers, searching for the truth about her child's father. And waiting just outside, another possible dad, Miles Jones, was unaware of the storm he was about to enter.
Good day, everyone. Mr. House, you're a church pastor and bishop who may have fathered a child with a woman who's 28 years younger than you.
Yes, Your Honor.
House had come to court to clear his name, but his confidence cracked as the details spilled out. The woman accusing him of fathering her child, 28 years younger. And if that wasn't scandalous enough, she admitted, without hesitation, that she had been with 3 different men during the time of conception. 3 men, 1 baby, and a test that would expose everything, from scripture to scandal. House had met Webster in Buffalo, fresh off a new assignment as a traveling pastor, but being a man of the cloth didn't mean he was immune to temptation. And by his own admission, he had manly needs. After a few conversations and a shared understanding of personal loss, they became more than just Bible study partners.
Ms. Webster, you admit you were involved with 3 different men during the time you conceived your daughter, including Mr. House.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, the second possible father you've identified, Mr. Miles Jones.
But where did they meet? That was a different story. She claimed they met at church. He insisted it was a fast food joint, a small detail, but in a case like this, every contradiction mattered. Regardless of where their paths first crossed, one thing was certain. This wasn't a love story. It It was a lust story. House made it clear. This was nothing but a casual hookup, a booty call, as he put it. And he hadn't been careful for a man who claimed to be so careful with his reputation.
And he's currently waiting outside of the courtroom.
Yes.
So, Mr. House, first explain to the court, how did this all start between you and Ms. Webster?
It started with me leaving an assignment that I had in Jacksonville, moving to Buffalo, New York, take on a new assignment as a pastor. I'm a bishop, but I'm also a traveling pastor.
Because Webster was not exclusive. While she was wrapped up in a late-night rendezvous with House, she also saw Miles Jones. And unlike the bishop, Jones actually believed they had something real. What started as a few weeks of casual fun had turned into a committed relationship. At least he thought so.
I think that, maybe in the right atmosphere, we could probably, make a relationship and go a little bit further as time went along.
So, Ms. Webster, please tell us a little bit about the relationship as you saw it.
We met through my aunt.
But what he didn't know, that while he was bringing her flowers, House was bringing her something else entirely.
Met her at a fast food place. She's saying you all were at church, but regardless, you decided to be in a sexual relationship. Was it more than a sexual relationship?
No,
or
it was just a hookup.
It was just a hookup.
It was a booty call.
And you agreed with that it was just...
Not only with me, but 3 other people
as well.
It was
just...
The bombshell revelation. Jones had been clueless about Webster's other relationships. He had no idea another man was in the picture, let alone someone with House's status, so when he learned the truth, the betrayal hit hard.
Miles Jones?
Mr. Miles Jones. All right, we are here with Ms. Webster, and of course, we are discussing paternity as it relates to little Emilion.
Yes.
So was this a relationship, or was this just casual sex? What were you guys doing?
It was, at first it started off as casual sex for about...
Still, he did what he thought was right. When Webster told him she was 6 months pregnant, he didn't hesitate. He stepped up, paid for things, stayed by her side, named the baby after himself, and signed some papers at the hospital, believing, this is my child.
What happened, Mr. House? So you just up and left town?
No. In fact, I hung around for several weeks, even after my assignment ended, and I never got a phone call from her.
So the point is, you left the window open. If she really wanted to reach you, she'd be able to find you.
She would be able to find me.
So now question, when you left town, did you know she was pregnant?
I had no idea at all whatsoever. She never told me she was pregnant.
But House, he vanished, left town without a word. His excuse? He never knew she was pregnant, never got a call, never received a message. Yet, Webster's aunt somehow managed to track him down through his church organization. And just 30 days ago, the phone rang.
Exactly, so why didn't
when
you
the auntie called me and told me, immediately I called.
So hold on, Mr. Miles Jones, I want to figure out what was happening with you at this time. So you find out she's pregnant.
Right.
How?
I came over on a regular hookup to go meet up with her. We was gonna go out.
There's a woman saying you left her with child. That was all it took to drag him into court. And now, here they were, the moment of truth. As the judge unfolded the envelope, the tension was unbearable. For House, this was everything. He had built his life on morality, faith, and leadership. If this child was his, it wasn't just personal, it was public.
Testimony here, you said she told you you were the father.
Yes, when I asked her, after she told me she was pregnant, I said, oh, well, do you think I'm the father? She was like, well, you are the father, that's why I'm telling you. Because
that's a lie. When I told him it was a possibility, and when I had her, he was there. He even wanted me to give her last name, and he even wanted to sign the birth certificate. I have the information.
For Jones, this was validation. He had invested time, energy, money, and love into this child, giving everything, only to find himself doubting if any of it was real. And for Webster, this was Judgment Day. The judge took a breath, looked at the paper, and then, the biological father of baby Emilion is Miles Jones. Silence. Then, an explosion of emotions. Jones exhaled, his face a mix of relief and devastation. He had suspected it, but hearing it out loud, it shook him.
I want to know who my baby father is. Why not call you and let you know?
I'm just saying, and there's another possible guy as well, too. Remember here, she's triple playing. Let's look at it for what it really is. She's tricking. She's sleeping with this guy, sleeping with me, sleeping with somebody else. If she was happy.
House? The bishop staggered, gripping the edge of the podium. All that bravado, all that certainty, it evaporated in an instant. He had spent the entire trial denying the possibility. He was confronted with the truth. He was never this child's father. And Webster, she simply nodded. The weight of her choices and mistakes, it all came crashing down. Final verdict. Justice had spoken. Deception, doubts, and a desperate search for the truth led to this moment. As the courtroom emptied, one thing was clear. Secrets always surface. And when they do, the truth doesn't just set you free, it shocks you to your core.
Mr. Miles Jones, you are not her father. Mr. House, it has been determined by this court that you are not her father.
A family of 4 appears in Judge Lauren's courtroom in what seems to be a case of betrayal and infidelity. The husband, Mr. Jaramillo, alleges that their 2 daughters, 8-month-old Alexis and 4-year-old Naviana, are not his. The wife, Mrs. Stremke, is adamant with her claims that he is the father of their daughters.
Ms. Stremke, you've dragged Mr. Jaramillo to court in hopes of saving your family, which you claim is falling apart due to paternity denial. You say the defendant doubts paternity for both of your daughters, 4-year-old Naviana and 8-month-old Alexis, but you want to prove that he is their father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
The lovers spat to the utmost dismay of Judge Lauren was happening right in front of the kids, with the 4-year-old Naviana, who was confirmed by both parents as being a smart kid, picking up some cues, which left the poor child wondering who her real father is, further driving a wedge into the cracks.
Part because my daughters are basically growing up how I had to. We didn't have both parents, and even when we did have both parents present at different times, we were denied. I feel like they can't trust their dad because he denies that he's their dad half the time. And my 4-year-old Naviana knows. She can hear the, well, I'm not her dad anyway.
Mrs. Stremke almost broke down in tears as she narrated how they met at the tender age of 13 in a lockup facility. Apparently, they both had rough childhoods growing up, and she's trying her very best to give her daughters something different.
It's on the line now?
Yes.
How did it begin?
We met very young. I was 13. We met in a lockup facility we were both staying at. We had no choice. We didn't have good childhoods at all, so we had to stay there. I see it now, and I don't want it to go down that road to where they have to go through what we did. And it's, sorry, I'm getting emotional.
The plot thickens as the circumstances surrounding her first pregnancy are brought to light. There were several men in the picture, one whom she had a son for before reuniting with Mr. Jaramillo when she returned to Iowa, and another whom she slept with 3 weeks before coupling up with Jaramillo.
13 years old. He said that I was gonna, be his baby's mom a long time ago. And it's hurtful now that, yes, I am your daughter's mom. And it just gets shoved under a rug and forgotten about because he doesn't feel that those are his kids. I had just gotten out of a relationship with my son's father and had moved back to Iowa. Well, I ended up...
One of her closest friends went behind her back and snitched to Mr. Jaramillo that Mrs. Stremke had been sleeping around with numerous men, and the pregnancy was not his. This led to the doubt Mr. Jaramillo had about the daughters.
She called and decided to tell him that I was sleeping with multiple men, and from that point on, he had doubted it, which I really don't understand, because how can you base your daughter's paternity off of some girl you had never even met?
Well, it was one of your friends, you'd spent time with her.
What did she say to you exactly, Mr. Jaramillo?
She said that the baby that Miss Stremke had...
The birth certificate of Naviana, which was presented in the courtroom, shows that Mr. Jaramillo fully accepted that he was father, which he later chalked up as a spur-of-the-moment decision as he was happy then, but eventually the resentment concerning her paternity started seeping in.
The biggest sign was cigarettes. Anybody that had smoked and came back in anywhere around me, I'd instantly throw up. And that's how I know really early on.
But what I want you to understand is that, he gets this call and somebody says, this is not your baby, this is the person she was with before you.
Yes.
It's his baby.
The wife revealed that she was perfectly okay with having one child at the time. The husband was pressuring her for another child, a male child. She ultimately caved into his demands, and they decided to spice up their sex life by having a threesome. To top it off, he even brought his own male friend to participate in the second threesome. Even Judge Lauren was bewildered.
That's the part that is the hardest for me to believe, because I was done having kids. After I had a boy and I had a girl, I didn't want any more. I pushed my luck. I have a boy, a girl, they're both amazing kids, and there was a point in time where the whole paternity of Naviana was not brought up, and he was practically begging me for another child.
No protection was used during the threesome. The entire courtroom heaved out a huge sigh. Judge Lauren shook her head in disbelief. 3 weeks later, she was pregnant with their second daughter, Alexis. He said he takes full responsibility for the mishap. When Alexis was born, he didn't sign the birth certificate. He felt, considering what happened, leading to the pregnancy, that there was no need. He also added that Alexis looks like his buddy.
We ended up having a female-female threesome with him, so he got to pick another woman, and it was what it was. We did it, and then it was maybe a couple weeks later it got brought up. It'd only be fair if we had a male, and you. So I said, okay, all right, that's fine. It's something new.
The wife and the husband have been calm throughout the whole hearing. This was commended by the judge, but neither of them is ready to concede to the other. Only the DNA results can put an end to this. The moment of truth.
Mr. Jaramillo, you are the father.
A middle-aged woman, Venus, 56 years old, comes to Judge Lauren's courtroom to defend her deceased son. He died from a violent gun crime. His name was Dominique. The accuser, in the shape of Amber, 21 years old, says Venus's deceased son is the father of her child, and she's here to prove it.
Ms. Mangrum, you're here today after losing your son to a violent crime. You say the defendant, Ms. Schools, is claiming your deceased son is her child's father, which you say is impossible.
Yeah.
Ms. Schools, you say you have no doubt that Mr. Mangrum fathered your child, and today you will prove it to his family. How did you find out about Ms. Schools' pregnancy, Ms.
Mrs. Venus said she was made aware of the pregnancy on the day her son died. Amber approached her at the hospital and told her that her son is the father. Amber countered her statement. She said she messaged Venus on Facebook first, before approaching her at the hospital.
That I didn't want to hear. No time. No, I just didn't want it.
So, Ms. Schools, is that how it happened?
No, it's not. I actually wrote her on Facebook and told her, I was like, hey, Miss Venus, my name is Amber. I'm actually downstairs. I was like, I don't know if Dominique told you or not, but I'm actually 3 months pregnant with his baby. I was like, I'm downstairs in the hospital.
Amber said she was very emotional upon seeing him hooked up to tubes and machines in the hospital. Venus rubbed her back, that everything will be okay. Venus interrupted her. That was not how it happened. She didn't remember any of that. She was too overwhelmed with her son's condition to care.
Be okay, don't worry.
No, ma'am, no, ma'am, no. That did not,
That didn't happen.
So sorry, no. I don't remember none of that. Now, the Facebook thing, okay, came after Dominique was already gone.
Right, but you got it. And you told me you got it.
And I wrote you back.
Venus said that before her son died, he told her that about 4 girls were claiming they were pregnant for him. She was acquainted with 2 of the girls, but she never heard of Amber.
I did not care.
I understand you, yes I do.
My son told me several times, okay, that there is about 3 or 4 girls who say they pregnant by him. Now, I knew about 2 of the girls, okay? I knew about 2 of the girls, but I never met Amber.
Amber said during the pregnancy, she kept Venus updated with everything, including baby showers. Venus responded positively with prayers and promised to come visit her at the hospital, which she did. Venus said she picked the baby up and immediately knew her son was not the father. She knew from the baby's hair.
Where he sent me little forwarded messages off Facebook with prayers and stuff, telling me she loved me and, you know, she's coming to the hospital to see me and my baby and stuff like that. And she came and saw my baby for about a couple minutes. She came and sat there like the second day I had my daughter. She came to the hospital.
Venus said she was tired of Amber bringing up the issue, that she needed no reminder of her late son's face, that the only reason she was in the courtroom was to put the matter to bed once and for all. She was screaming at this point. A heated argument broke out. Judge Lauren had to use the gavel to bring them to order.
Beautiful hair. Beautiful.
All Mangrum babies had a head full of hair when they were born. Every last one of them. You know, Amber, I apologize, you know, but I honestly did not want the baby to be his baby.
Why is that?
I did not, because I did not mind this of my baby.
With glistened eyes, Venus narrated how she dealt with her son's demise by avoiding his Facebook. The judge reminded her that a beautiful baby was in court today. Amber iterated that only Dominique's father was kind to her. This prompted the judge to call Dominique's father to the stand to give his own version of events.
He did so much to me, like words, verbally, it was.
Ms. Schools, I have to say this. I don't think you were trying to do anything malicious. I just think, unfortunately, this mother at that time could not process it all. Now her husband, Dominique's father.
The father said he was aware of Amber's pregnancy because Dominique introduced her to him. Venus interrupted that she was not aware. When did this happen? He said he's not here to argue, that he's sticking with what his son told him. Venus said she doesn't believe it, that a DNA test was initially done, which came back negative.
It is. It's just a fight, you know what I'm saying? Between them, and it's like, I don't want to be in the middle of it. However it goes, I would still like to be around.
DNA was taken from Dominique's body after the day he passed away. The documents were presented to the judge. Amber said since it was blood transfusion, it could be wrong. Venus interjected that Amber was living with another man at the time. Amber said she wanted to undergo a DNA test then to determine who the father was. At this point, only the new results can tell.
When it comes to 18-month-old Dominique Samaya Mangrum is not related to Andre and Venus Mangrum.
Mr. House, a 48-years-old bishop, appears in Judge Lauren's courtroom, being accused by Ms. Webster, a 20-years-old woman, of being the father of her child. It was made known by the judge that Ms. Webster was involved with 3 men at the time. One of them, who was 9 years older than her, was waiting outside the courtroom.
Mr. House, you're a church pastor and bishop who may have fathered a child with a woman who's 28 years younger than you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Ms. Webster, you admit you were involved with 3 different men during the time you conceived your daughter, including Mr. House.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. House met Ms. Webster when he took on a new assignment in New York. They hit it off immediately, bonding over tragedies. He never for once assumed they were in a committed relationship.
I had in Jacksonville, moving to Buffalo, New York, take on a new assignment as a pastor. I'm a bishop, but I'm also a traveling pastor. But I'm also a man. I want to stress that right away, that I'm a man and I have manly needs. So it doesn't mean that I won't see a woman, but I'm also a pastor.
Ms. Webster said she met Mr. House through her aunt. It was supposed to be a Bible study, but one thing led to another and it became sexual. Mr. House interrupted her. He said they met at a fast food joint and exchanged numbers. Ms. Webster refuted the statement that it was a church.
We could probably, make a relationship and go a little bit further as time went along.
So, Ms. Webster, please tell us a little bit about the relationship as you saw it.
We met through my aunt. We met at a church. It was supposed to have been like a Bible study thing, but instead of that, it was like more.
Judge Lauren had to step in to refrain the bishop from calling Ms. Webster derogatory names. The bishop said it was just a hookup, a booty call. The courtroom gasped. Ms. Webster agreed that it was just a casual relationship, nothing more. She said she was also sleeping with her boyfriend of 5 years at the same time, Mr. Miles Jones.
Well, in Hosea chapter 4, God called Gomer a whore.
Well, we're not in Hosea chapter 4. We in paternity court, and I'm the judge, and in this courtroom, we're going to respect women. Now, you can tell the story without calling her name.
Mr. Miles was called to the stands. He said his relationship with Ms. Webster started off casual, before becoming a committed one. He said he was not aware that she was sleeping with other men at the time. The judge said it seems only Ms. Webster was aware of both men. She nodded in agreement.
Andre Miles Jones.
Mr. Miles Jones. All right, we are here with Ms. Webster. And of course, we are discussing the paternity as it relates to little Emilion.
Yes.
So was this a relationship or was this just casual sex? What were you guys doing?
It was, at first it started off as casual sex for about 2 to 3 weeks, and then I started catching feelings.
When Ms. Webster found out she was pregnant, she tried contacting the bishop. His phone was off. When she gave birth, she couldn't reach him for any support. Mr. Miles said he had to provide the child with diapers and stuff.
I did. She'll tell you that her phone was off. Your phone went on. My bankroll's on spoil, and I kept hers on spoil as well, too.
Never. My phone bill was off of 2 months.
I'm sure glad your bankroll was on swole for baby Emilion, just in case you end up being the father.
The bishop said he never knew about pregnancy. He only found out about 30 days ago through her aunt, and he came right away.
I just found out less than 30 days ago at the most that she had a baby. Her auntie called my superiors in my organization, and I got a phone call saying there's some woman saying that you left her with child in New York. I made the phone call, and I was told 30 days ago, just 30 days ago.
Mr. Miles said he found out about the pregnancy after 5 to 6 months, and she told him he was the father. Ms. Webster said she told Miles there was a possibility he was the father. The bishop jumped in and said that this was why he had doubts about the paternity of the child. The courtroom clapped.
Really? I said, how long? She was like, I'm about 5 to 6 months. I said, so you trying to tell me that it's mine? She said
5 to 6 months before you told him?
Well, I was
so you
4
can
to 5
imagine,
months.
I didn't know it all.
So when you told him, I'm pregnant, did you then tell him, and you're the father?
No, I told him it's a possibility that he can be my baby's father.
Ms. Webster presented a birth certificate. Nobody was listed as the father, but she gave the baby Miles's last name. The bishop said if she was happy with Miles, why did she contact him? She said she had to make sure who the father is, and she's ready to find out. And she was not alone in that regard. Only the DNA results from the court can clear this. Show results.
Mr. Miles Jones, you are not her father. Mr. House, it has been determined by this court that you are not her father.
Mr. Alexander is trying to legally remove his name from the birth certificate of the child of his ex-girlfriend, Ms. Stewart, because he believes he's not the father of the child. Ms. Stewart believes otherwise, that the negligence of Mr. Alexander has left her and her kids homeless.
Mr. Alexander, you are suing your ex-girlfriend for $40 for the cost of the administration fee to legally remove your name from her 4-month-old daughter, Jariah's birth certificate, because there is absolutely no way you are her biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Alexander stated his reasons for trying to determine paternity, that Ms. Stewart was having an affair with another man. His name was Dexter, that she was also keeping late nights, and this was during the window of her conception.
Text messages and several phone calls from this guy named Dexter. She wouldn't answer the phone when I was in the room. I guess she would wait until maybe I left or whatever, so that's kind of a suspicion for me.
So you saw text messages coming in on her phone?
Right.
But you never questioned her about it?
Yeah, I asked her about it, and she told me, like, don't worry about it, like, basically, like, it's none of my business.
Ms. Bew Stewart disagreed, that she didn't even tell him about the pregnancy till about 2.5 months later. They were going through a rough patch. Mr. Alexander said they were on a 3-month break when he learned about the pregnancy.
That's why I'm in doubt, too.
Because this was during the window of conception.
Right.
So you feel like she was cheating on you during the time Jariah was conceived.
Correct.
Is that true, Ms. Stewart?
No, Your Honor, it is not. And I'm not even sure why he denies. I mean, I didn't tell him.
Ms. Stewart said they were still having sex together during the break, and she wasn't cheating on him. She was suspicious of Mr. Alexander that he was the one cheating on her. She even put a tracking device on his phone and discovered that he was in fact cheating.
I don't understand how he doesn't say that. Every time we're on a break, it's not necessarily a break because we still have sex, so it's not really a break.
So were you cheating?
No, Your Honor, I was not. Let me tell you what happened. So I started feeling that he was cheating on me.
She submitted the evidence to Judge Lauren. It was displayed on the monitor and read aloud to the entire courtroom. Mr. Alexander denied it, that the messages weren't his.
That is when he was gone. He told me that he was at his aunt's house, and obviously you can see there he's talking to a girl right there.
So at 7:08 p.m., his phone got a text from a number that's not yours that says, "I'm looking forward to tonight."
Yeah.
Ms. Stewart came clean that she was only pretending to be talking to a man named Dexter to get back at Mr. Alexander. Dexter was her female friend. She only changed the name. She never cheated on him.
Somebody else's fine booty.
That's correct, Your Honor.
So, Ms. Stewart, I'm trying to understand what this all has to do with Dexter. Because if we're being completely honest, even if this is his phone log and he was going after someone else or dating someone else or cheating, that would not have anything to do with the paternity of Jariah.
Mr. Alexander brought out his sister as a witness. She was also friends with Ms. Stewart for about 15 years now. She said Dexter was a real man, that Ms. Stewart was really seeing him, and they've gone out to meet other guys together before. Ms. Stewart denied all the allegations.
Stewart and I have been friends for over 15 years, and we've always talked and told each other secrets about, having backup plans as far as if you have a boyfriend, keeping one on the side for when your boyfriend makes you mad, you can, just go talk to other guys or whatever. So as far as this guy goes, it's not a hoax. They actually hang out all the time.
Mr. Alexander said during a previous argument, Ms. Stewart had told him that the baby was not his. The judge confirmed the statement, and Ms. Stewart agreed. She said it only happened once. She said she only wished it wasn't his baby so that they would go their separate ways.
Recently, yes, we have. They just had a little break also, and she thought he was cheating, so we went out to go hang out with guys.
She's also told me several times that when we be in the heat of an argument, that the baby's not mine. So
I said that one time.
Therefore,
I
have doubt.
Ms. Stewart has been shouldering the burden of raising the child on her own. Mr. Alexander said he cannot take care of a baby that he's not sure of. He's a good father to their first child, but not the second one. Only the DNA results can save the child from neglect at this point.
Mr. Alexander, you are her father.
Brandon, after a 12 years relationship with Ms. Fuller, got a shocker when she confessed that their 3-year-old son may not be his biological child. He broke off his engagement to her, and he's struggling with the possibility of losing his son. Ms. Fuller said she was having an affair with another man at the time. She hid this from Brandon.
3-year-old son Brandon Jr. may not be your biological child. Now you say your engagement to Ms. Fuller is broken off and your heart is in ruins because of the possibility you may now lose your son too.
Yes, Your Honor.
Brandon said they got separated when the baby was 6 months old. because they had to move. He took the baby to a birthday party. When he returned the child, Ms. Fuller wasn't home and she wasn't answering her calls. This went on for days.
Had to separate because we had to move.
So you all were in a relationship.
We were in a relationship.
Baby was what? Born.
Yep. And we were living
6
together.
months in.
6 months in, we had to move. We fell on some hard times.
Okay.
Respectively, I moved back to my mom's.
A week later, Brandon started receiving calls from a private number. It was Ms. Fuller. She had gone to spend the week with the man she actually thought was the biological father of the baby. She requested for a face-to-face meeting with Brandon.
He asked you on the phone, or he said, meet me and I want to talk about this?
He asked me on the phone. He was mad at me and he was upset. He was wondering where we had been that whole week. And,
where were you that whole week?
I had left to go be with the guy that I thought.
Ms. Fuller presented a picture of the other man, that the baby started looking like him. That's why she disappeared. She was feeling guilty. She didn't want to lie to Brandon.
Why would you just disappear? Where did you go?
He started looking like the other guy to me when he was 6 months. I have a picture. To me, he just didn't look.
Okay, now the pieces are coming together.
He didn't look like he didn't look like neither one of us to me at the time.
Brandon presented pictures to the judge, showing how close he was to the child. He was there for the kid as a father would. He cared for the child and fed him. The kid even has his last name. He never had any doubt that he was the father.
This baby is named after you.
Oh yeah.
It's your son.
Sleeping on my chest at night, just everything. I barely move. Like I would sleep like this, real quiet, real.
He discovered her infidelity when she forgot to log out from her Facebook account after using his phone. He saw the messages in the inbox, and one of them stood out. She told the other man that the child doesn't look like Brandon and she needs his help.
I was on my way to some bad things. When he was born, it's just like, I gotta stop.
Brandon Jr. is 3 now.
3.
So you spent the next 2.5 years continuing to bond.
Yeah, and then we had a falling out, like serious falling out. She got on social media on my phone, okay, but didn't close it.
This led to a long and heated argument between the couples. The neighbors had to call the cops for domestic disturbance.
It did.
So what happened?
I got upset, okay? Well, actually, I sat down on the couch at first. I was like, So I handed her the phone. I was like, read this. So she reading it, she kind of got a little look on her face or whatever. And I got up after that, and I went to the washer, and I started taking...
Ms. Fuller said she had been in an on and off relationship with the other man for about 8 years, till when she had her baby. This left the entire courtroom in disbelief. She presented a calendar chart to the judge showing the timeline of her relationships with both men. She said she wasn't supposed to have a child, that her child was a miracle baby.
It was off and on for about 8 years or whatever. Around the time
it went on for how long?
It was like 8 years off and on, but it wasn't like
8 years off and on?
Yes.
Oh, until what time?
Brandon never knew another man was ever in the picture. He had no clue. Ms. Fuller, with tears in her eyes, apologized to Brandon, that Brandon was the perfect man to raise her child and not the other man. Brandon said she was the one that broke off the engagement and there might be no coming back. Only the DNA results can settle this squabble at this moment.
Mr. Brandon Robinson Sr., you are his father.
Mr. and Mrs. White, a newlywed couple, make an appearance in Judge Lauren's courtroom today. Mrs. White is trying to save her marriage by proving that Mr. White is indeed the father of their 3-year-old daughter. She agreed to have cheated in the past, but the results today will help her gain her husband's trust back. Mr. White disagrees. He said he's ready for a divorce.
Ms. White, you've opened your case because your last and only way to save your marriage and family is to prove to your husband that he fathered your 3-year-old daughter, Savannah.
Yes, Your Honor.
You admit you've cheated in the past, but hope once the results are revealed, your husband will trust you again. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. White said his wife was having her ex-boyfriend over while he was at work. His neighbors told him. This prompted him to snoop around her social media, and it led to a quarrel between them. The ex-boyfriend showed up. This confirmed his suspicion that something was going on between them.
Just the other day, she was at my mother's, and she woke up and she asked, "Where's Daddy?"
And I can see this is just tearing you apart.
It is.
It's just eating away at you. I can see that. Explain to the court how it has been for 3 years to have doubt.
It's been rough and emotional because when it first all come about to where I had the suspicions, it was she was having an ex-boyfriend come over while I was at work.
Mr. White said a week after their wedding, his wife was constantly cheating on him. Everyone in the courtroom, including the judge, was stunned. She asked Mrs. White if the allegations were true. She said they were, that she was suffering from abandonment, issues being an adopted child and all.
You just don't have any trust in this relationship.
No, because from a week after we got married until February of this year, I've been catching her cheating constantly.
A week after you got married?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. White, have you been cheating?
Yes, but I have like abandonment issues because I was adopted. So like if he's not showing me the love and affection that I need.
She said their anniversary is in 2 days, that she wanted to make this right, that she's certain he's the father of the child. She moved in with her husband when she was 19 years old and got pregnant after 8 months. They married after the birth of their first child, and she started cheating immediately.
You admittedly have been cheating. You've had to open this case to prove paternity of Savannah in hopes of saving your marriage.
Yes, our anniversary is in 2 days, and so I want to make this right so we can better our marriage and prove that Savannah is his.
Mr. White found out when the baby was 6 months old during an argument. His wife told him that there's a high chance he's not the father.
Mr. White, when did you find this out?
I didn't find out for sure until she admittedly told me when Savannah was 6 months old that there was a 50-50 chance that Savannah wasn't mine.
And how did you get to a place where you decided you're going to tell him, Miss White?
We got into an argument and we ended up splitting up, and I was over at my mom's house.
Mr. White presented text message evidence between his wife and another man on Valentine's Day. She planned to go spend it with him because Mr. White didn't get her anything.
My father and mother's issues and seeing it, and I'd rather not have my kids in that environment where they're seeing mom and dad argue over something. They don't need to see it. They either need to have family together where there's no issues, there's faithful and everybody's sticking to it, or we do it as separate parents, but we still sit there and have a civil.
Mr. White presented pictures of his wife sexting other men to the judge. He said he took his wife's phone into his possession after seeing all the text messages. Mrs. White said she didn't do anything sexual with the man on Valentine's Day. She just went over to talk.
And I assume, Mr. White, since you handed this up to the court, this is not your body part.
No.
This is what you found in her phone.
Yes, this is the gentleman that she went to his house on Valentine's Day.
Tell me what happened behind that story, Ms. White.
We didn't even do anything on Valentine's Day. We just sat there and talked. That's all we did on Valentine's Day.
Mrs. White says she wants to turn over a new leaf. No more cheating. That's why she's here in court to determine the paternity of the kids and move on with their lives.
You're saying you're not getting what you need in the marriage. So why not just leave the marriage? Why keep doing this if you are going to engage in this type of activity?
Well, I called the court just so I can get the results of the kids. And
Mr. White, with tears in his eyes, narrated how he loved his kids and she couldn't live without them, that his wife was emotionally manipulative towards him. Her current pregnancy is still under scrutiny because of her cheating habits. Only the results can lay this to rest.
Mr. White, you are her father. How do you feel?
I feel happy.
How do you feel, Ms. White?
relieved because he's a great dad and I want him to be all of my children's father.
Ms. Johnson and Ms. Davis appear in court to find out if the defendant, Mr. Johnson, is actually their father. At their mother's funeral, a different man showed up, claiming he was their father, and now they want to get to the bottom of the whole drama. Mr. Johnson says that he has always had doubts, but that never stopped him from being a father to the girls. Oh well, here's how it starts.
You are here in court today to finally find out if the defendant is your biological father. You both claim at your mother's funeral a different man approached you and announced,
"At the time, I haven't seen my mother in 4 years. I was at work, and that's how I found out that my mother had passed away."
Even Judge Lauren can't hide her shock. That would definitely throw her off balance. The fact that something like that even happened at her mother's funeral is just mind-blowing. But where has the man been all this while?
And what was...
I told him, that these are my kids. Supposed to be father, was actually a friend of her grandfather's.
You knew this man already?
That's right.
So you grew up knowing this is just a friend of your family?
Seems to me like the only person to blame for this misunderstanding was their mother. Ms. Johnson tells the judge that when her mother was alive, she would sometimes say that Mr. Johnson was their father, and other times she would say the other man was also their father.
She would tell me, I'm unhappy while I was at work. But come on, every man, every woman knows when their partner's cheating on them. And,
did you ever catch her? Did you ever witness firsthand?
I caught her in the man's apartment, but actually caught her activity, no.
That had to have broken his heart. Mr. Johnson says that their mom told him that she was cheating. She constantly nagged about him not spending time with her and how she was unhappy about it. Looks like she found a way to stay happy. Sadly, she left a mess behind.
That's my divorce papers.
So this is a final judgment of divorce.
Yes, Your Honor.
It says the defendant,
yes, Your Honor.
And that would be you, Mr. Johnson.
Yes, Your Honor.
So she relinquished her parental rights.
Yes, Your Honor.
And so Mr. Johnson, you raised these children on your own.
Yes, Your Honor.
Talk about a man being the perfect example of a good father. He shows Judge Lauren evidence that states that their mother waved away her parental rights to her daughters. I wonder what type of mother would do such a thing to her children. At least they had Mr. Johnson. Thank God for that.
I know this is tough, sir. I do. You were there for all the monumental moments.
I mean, I was the one that taught them how to be a young lady, how to take care of themselves. That was a fun thing. That was fun. But thank God, you know, me being a tattoo artist.
I mean, she couldn't have said it any better. Mr. Johnson is truly a good man. Even though he had doubts about the kid, he stood up to his responsibilities and took very good care of their girls. I really hope he is the father for real.
I love my first wife. That was the mother of my children. But you know, and my children know, I used to pay the mother to see them. And that's the reason why it was so long why they didn't see the mother, having to give her money just to spend time with the kids.
Oh, I understand. You're saying when you had the girl, you wanted the girls to see her.
Man, that is horrible. She has to be the worst mother on God's green earth. Why would you have to be paid to see your own kids? With that type of character, it's not surprising she left them in such a messy situation.
And there was a little boy there, and her mother told her that that was her half-brother or something. And that is also the same one that fathered, the same guy that supposedly fathered her, fathered that child too.
And you were introduced to a little boy and told this was your half-brother?
Yes, Your Honor.
Honestly, they aren't wrong. Kids should not have to deal with things this complicated at a very young age. Imagine not having your mother around and still being introduced to a stepbrother. That's just very messed up. Their mom should have honestly done better.
There's a lot of doubts. My middle sister, I could see my father.
That's Miss Johnson.
Yes, ma'am. Miss Davis, I love her to pieces.
It's okay, sweet.
But
But
some.
you don't see your father.
No, ma'am.
And that hurts you to have to say.
That is honestly so sad. Everyone is so emotional right now. Their brother walks into the courtroom and he says that there's so much doubt surrounding the paternity of both ladies. One looks like their father and the other just doesn't fit the description. They must really hate their mom right now.
From what he was told, I was just the man that raised her. And that was like taking a knife and stabbing it in my heart. I got upset about it. I actually confronted Melinda about it.
You did. Ms. Davis, can you explain what happened? Was there a time when you just felt...
Jeez, everything just keeps stabbing Mr. Johnson in the heart. He has honestly been through so much having to raise these girls on his own. Well, let's see if the DNA results are going to mend all of that damage.
Mr. Johnson Sr., you are his father. Now we'll move on to the results for Miss Johnson. Mr. Johnson Sr., you are her father. In the case of Johnson Davis v. Johnson, Mr. Johnson Sr., you are her father.
Mr. Wiseman is furious as hell. Why? Well, he allowed his good friend to move in with him and his girlfriend, and this good friend of his ended up kicking it in bed with his girlfriend. Now, he fears that his best friend might be the father of their child. Could he be right? Oh well, here's how he opens his case.
You claim he repaid your generosity by sleeping with your girlfriend in a paternity dispute over which of you fathered 2-year-old Brett Wiseman. Mr. New, you claim when you first moved in, your relationship with Mr. Wiseman's girlfriend...
You're speechless, right? Trust me, I am too. In what world does something like this even happen? Mr. New, the supposed good friend, says that he is very protective of Mr. Wiseman's girlfriend because he believes she's carrying his baby. Wow.
How did you even find out Mr. New had slept with your girlfriend?
Somebody in her family came and told me.
What did that person tell you?
We told him ourselves, Your Honor, once we started.
What did that person tell you?
You know, they was becoming too close of friends, and they finally told me, like, look, we know for a fact that...
I don't know, man. It feels like there are loopholes in his story. Mr. Wiseman tells the judge that one of his girlfriend's family members told him that she had been sleeping with his friend Mr. New. That definitely can't be the only way he found out she was cheating.
She was at her grandma's house because they was already broke up because he cheated on her so many times and she was letting it go. Knew about it.
Okay.
Knew about it.
She's
knew
the
about
cheater.
it and
Just
all
like
that.
that's why he's so protected. He's so protected because you have to be with her. Because if you ain't stuck up her butt 24/7.
I knew something wasn't adding up with the story Mr. Wiseman was telling. Mr. New says that the only reason his girlfriend was cheating on him was because he had cheated on her numerous times with other women. Honestly, I think it's time we actually hear her own side of the story. These grown men are just going at each other other like two best friends in high school. Jeez, if they can't get the story right, at least the lady involved is gonna make some sense from the mess.
And then having sexual relations with other women. She never told him that she knew that, so he thought it was all cool. He was
cheating on her.
Yes, he always accused her of cheating when she wasn't. So she did sleep with my cousin a year or two before I even knew him.
I mean, our first 8 months together, she cheated on me with her ex.
That certainly clears the air. Looks like she's the only man in the situation. She said her part plain and simple without acting like a drama queen the way the men in question did. Oh well. She admits to cheating on Mr. Wiseman and she blames it on the fact that they were having issues in their relationship.
You know, then when I found out about him, so yeah, I definitely had doubts.
Had you found out about Mr. New before you found out Miss Duncan was pregnant or after?
Kind of before. I mean, I was being told. I was definitely being told by her family that they was sleeping together.
So you heard the rumors?
Yeah.
Hold on. If that's the case, why is Mr. New claiming to be the father? Mr. Wiseman tells the judge that Ms. Duncan had him believe all along that he was the father of the child. Something isn't right, and I can smell it.
Bro,
she just plays both parts. She keeps me there and him there. That's all she does.
I know what happened.
Yeah, and he was just a friend.
I'm there every day now supporting your kids, bro.
Okay, no, you ain't.
They're your kids, bro.
So hold on, Mr. New.
And when Brett's old enough, I bet he does. I bet he does, because I'm the only one does anything for him.
I agree. It's an absolute mess. I'm pretty sure Mr. Wiseman was not prepared to hear that. Ms. Duncan drops a truth bomb and says that she and Mr. New are engaged. Aside from that, she's pregnant with his child. Ouch.
Mr. Wiseman, when you look at Brett, do you see a resemblance?
No.
You don't?
I mean, even with my oldest kid, she was with her boyfriend for 8 months, with me and both of them, then got pregnant with him.
So now you're stating in court today that there's potentially another?
Talk about a mess. It's like they just keep making babies and nobody wants to own up to being responsible for them. You know what? I think it's time we get to the results. That would definitely help us sort out their messy situation.
It has been determined that the biological father is Mr. Wiseman.
Bet he don't.
Well.
Ms. Lima appears in the courtroom, admitting that she made a huge mistake by getting into an affair with the defendant, Mr. who happens to be married. Mr. Anderson hopes that he is not the father of the child because that would mean his life would be over. It's a big mess, but here's how it all starts.
Ms. Lima, you admit to making a huge mistake and hope it doesn't affect your baby Christina. You had an affair with Mr. Anderson, who is married, and believe he's your daughter's father.
Yes, Your Honor.
On the first night, they had sex on the first night of just meeting up? Wow. Seems to me like that was the whole idea behind their meeting. I very much doubt they wanted anything romantic. Kicking it in bed on the first night clearly states that.
So I couldn't make the trip, so I got on Facebook and I told him, and a few minutes later, his Miss Anderson, she inboxed me and say, like, who are you? So I'm like, well, said I'm his girlfriend of a year, so who are you? She was like, well, I'm his wife of 10 years.
Damn, I'm pretty sure both Ms. Lima and Mr. Anderson's wife would have been very shocked to meet themselves in a manner like that. Let's just say Mr. Anderson was playing his game really well to keep them apart for that long because Ms. Lima said she never knew he was married.
I decided to go out and take Miss Lima out one night, and me and her went out to, the hotel. I brought her roses and...
This night, or is Miss Lima's assertion that this went on, she told your wife she was your girlfriend for a year?
Well, it does take just one time to make a baby. But then again, I can't believe that Mr. Anderson cheated on his wife just because they had a really bad argument. You can tell his wife is pissed and hurt to her bone. She's in disbelief that he could actually do such a thing.
Was it strange to you that you only saw him on Saturdays and Sundays, or you thought he was working during the week?
Not really, because I went to his house numerous of times, but...
Wait, excuse me.
I went to his house numerous of times, and I told her what was in her house, and I described it to her.
My God. Hold on. Mr. Anderson, where was your family when you would take this woman to your home?
That is just awful. Apparently, Mr. Anderson lied in the courtroom. He initially said that he met Ms. Lima just once, but that was not the case. Ms. Lima says that they met every weekend for almost 2 years, and there were times she even went to his home.
You got this young woman over here describing I'm mad for her.
For some money. She's looking for a cash out.
That's not the case at all. That's not.
Well, if she's looking for a cash out, you gave her the directions because to your treasure.
He honestly needs to be schooled, and I love that Judge Lauren is not sparing him one bit. He says that Ms. Lima is just looking to get some cash from him. Well, he is the one who led her to where the treasure is, like Judge Lauren said. It's just sad that he did this to his lovely wife.
Family at first, I couldn't contact him, so I went to his family and I got rejected by them. So I was like, well, you know, that really hurted me. So I was just like, well, let me move to the other person that I had sex with during that time.
Oh, hold on. Let me understand this. So you did sleep with another man during the window of conception during that time?
Oh my goodness. They had sex again? Honestly, I doubt Mr. Anderson is sorry about what he did. Oh well, Ms. Lima says that Mr. Anderson was not the only person she had sex with during the window of conception.
Once we messaged each other, I asked her for her phone number because I want to talk on the phone. You understand? And when she was telling me the things that she was telling me, my whole world just, it caved in. Like, are you serious? You know, this is my husband.
Because you all have built a lot together.
Believe me, I screamed Jesus when she said they have 5 kids together. Mr. Anderson has to be the most inconsiderate human being on earth right now. How can you build so much with your wife and still do her dirty like this? That's very sad and disappointing.
Baby daddy is.
Okay,
Like,
we're gonna
come
find
on,
out today, though.
Really? Really?
Okay.
Huh.
Okay.
Oh my God, this hurts really bad. And I try to keep it together for my children. But it really, really hurts. And just to know that there could be another baby in my family, like, come on.
And truthfully, your marriage.
She's right if we're being honest. It's too late to say he is sorry. He should have known he would end up in such a situation. Who cheats on their wife and then comes to say they're sorry? Come on. He hid it from her for 2 years.
Clear on that?
Yes, Your Honor.
What was the situation?
Well, the situation was when I first met Mrs. Lima, come February, I took her flowers to a job site, took her out to eat on Valentine's Day, and then in March we had a sexual intercourse.
At least she was honest with him. The other man Ms. Lima was sleeping with walks into the courtroom and says that Ms. Lima told him that there's a chance that Mr. Anderson could also be the father of the baby because she was sleeping with the both of them at the same time.
But that's all right. You better go ahead and practice you some law, baby. Go ahead.
He didn't go to any doctor's appointments or anything like that.
Okay. And that's a very important part of being pregnant,
Correct.
we know. Was Mr. Anderson involved at all?
No, he wasn't there neither.
Okay, and these are the only...
It looks like he wants the child to be his, but he just had doubts about the whole thing. Let's get down to the results. It's time we see if Mr. Anderson's actions have shattered his family.
Is the father of 1-year-old Christina. Mr. Scott, you are not her father.
Mr. Harvey says that the defendant, Ms. Jett, forced him to buy baby supplies for a child whom he already denied. He wants the court to refund him all the money he spent in taking care of the child because he knows that he is not the father of the baby. Here's how he starts his case.
Mr. Harvey, you are asking the court to award you $496 and for a child you adamantly deny is yours.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Jett, in response to Mr. Harvey's suit, you have petitioned the court father and say it's time he steps up and...
Excuse me? She got pregnant 2 weeks after they slept with each other? That doesn't sound right. I mean, it takes only once to get pregnant, but 2 weeks seems way too early for her to say that she's pregnant.
I started dating Harvey. Every day.
Moved in with
Yes,
him?
I did. And every day we had sex every day.
You got pregnant
nonstop.
2 weeks.
I didn't find out till I was.
So we had sex the first week I met.
No, I didn't.
Okay, so it was the second
I didn't
week.
find out.
All this yapping. Jeez. Can one person talk? Apparently, Ms. Jett claims that she found out she was pregnant 1 month after they had been having constant sexual relations. Even that story still sounds a little too good to be true.
We stopped talking. She moved back to Orlando. She wrote.
Why'd you stop talking?
Because he was so sexually active with other women. He was cheating on me.
Okay, so there was a...
Aha! Now the stories are beginning to add up. Apparently their breakup happened as a result of Mr. Harvey cheating on her with several women. That's one truth bomb. I'm sure there's more on the way.
1, diapers, 2, baby wipes, 3, pacifiers, 9, a nursing pillow that I showed.
Yes, I said that.
And this is all before the baby's born.
Yes, but
then you responded back.
Okay.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm even surprised Mr. Harvey decided to buy all the items on her funny list. It's even crazy that the baby had not been born before she sent the list to him. She has to be one delusional young woman.
When did you start putting 2 and 2 together? Be specific.
Okay, when I first met Sade, she got pregnant fast, and then we stopped talking. Okay, she was in a relationship.
Your Honor, I didn't
She said
start...
she was in a sexual relationship.
Your Honor,
That's
Your Honor,
one.
Your Honor.
And another thing is she had the baby
I didn't
and
start...
tagged the dude's name in the picture.
That's actually crazy. Mr. Harvey says that his doubts started to pop up when he found out on Facebook that Ms. Jett posted a picture of the baby and tagged another man, claiming that he was the baby daddy. What's even worse is that Mr. Harvey's family members told him about the whole thing.
At all. And I actually have proof that I actually wrote the dude and I said, hey, my daughter, you tagged yourself in the picture. And he said, oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know what
Why would would this guy, Miss Jed? Why would this
And you
guy
don't
be
know
there?
what you got.
He said that maybe it was an accident that he.
Oh, come on. She can't be serious right now. Does she think she's talking to kids? How can someone randomly pick up her phone and tag himself as the baby daddy of her child, knowing fully that the child already has a dad? Yeah, right.
Here's all the expenses that I've been taking care for of my daughter alone.
He's suing me for $500, and plus her feeding is double that.
I'm suing you for what I got a receipt for.
Okay, but her diapers are close to what you're suing me for. Her diapers is.
It's starting to get real dicey. Ms. Jett claims that the amount Mr. Harvey is asking her to return is only a fraction of what she spends on her baby, so she doesn't understand why he's making a big deal about the whole thing.
You haven't seen the baby since July. So, Mr. Harvey, your doubt is just based on a Facebook
No,
post?
it's not that. It's not that, Your Honor.
What is it?
Okay, and then another thing is, after she had the baby, she was trying to get pregnant again.
Haha. And just like that, another truth bomb hits the floors of the courtroom. Mr. Harvey says that he went through her phone and he saw some texts where she was telling another guy to pay for an abortion. Guess what? She was not pregnant at the time.
All I know is that when she had the baby, looking at my nephew's other children, we have strong genes. And all his brothers look alike, his brother's kids look alike.
And I have
they have the same heads. Our family have big eyes. His children look just alike from different moms.
Could she have a point or be onto something? Mr. Harvey's aunt says that the baby does not look like anybody in their family. She very much doubts that Mr. Harvey is the father of the baby. But then again, kids don't necessarily have to look like their dad all the time.
He called me and told me that Shadasia was pregnant.
I didn't meet.
No, he hadn't met me, but you called me and told me my daughter is pregnant and how I shouldn't worry about you leaving.
Not know.
At this point, it's honestly hard to believe anybody right now. Ms. Jett's mother says that Mr. Harvey called her and told her that she should not be worried about him leaving when the baby is born. I think it's time for us to see the results.
Pertaining to 4-month-old Nolani Harvey, V. Jett. Pertaining to 4-month-old Nolani Harvey. Mr. Harvey are not her father.
It's fine. That's fine.
Ms. Hadnot here is completely convinced that Mr. Matthews' wife is the reason why he's denying the paternity of her child. She also says that Ms. Matthews was once her best friend, but once she told her that Mr. Matthews had impregnated her, she also went ahead and got pregnant by Mr. Matthew and then married him. They opened their case like this.
Mr. Matthews, you claim you have doubts about being the biological father of Ms. Hadnot's son because you say she has a reputation. Now, you state that you and your wife hope to put an end to your connection with her when today's results. So, Ms. Hadnot, tell me how this even...
Then Mr. Matthews confirms that he had a sexual relationship with Ms. Hadnot. He then says that he and his wife were best friends before that, but Ms. Hadnot doesn't agree with this version of events at all.
At one time? Yes. Mr. Matthews?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you first had an intimate relationship with Ms. Hadnot. Then you started one with Ms. Matthews.
Well, her
best friend.
We've been me and my wife been best friends before that.
Your Honor, he said they was cousins.
This seems to support Ms. Hadnot's point. She was in a relationship with Mr. Matthews, got pregnant by him, and then Ms. Matthews got into the picture. That's the problem here. Can you imagine how betrayed Ms. Hadnot must have felt when she found out that her best friend was having a baby by her baby daddy?
You immediately knew it was Mr. Matthews?
No.
Okay. Tell me what happened.
I slept with somebody else around the time that I slept with James, that I could see my son.
Oh well, Ms. Hadnot. It looks like it's scientifically impossible to be sure of who the father of this child is. But Ms. Hadnot doesn't want to accept this. She says she knows who she slept with and is certain the father of her child is Mr. Matthews.
She's always been after money, Your Honor. It's been times where she, can you take me here? Can you take? It's always been about money, finances. She's a gold digger.
So you not only felt like she could have, well, she did sleep with the guy she admits to. You said it could be some other people too that she's not admitting to.
Well, if she didn't tell me about that, what else secrets are under the closet?
Okay then, Mr. Matthews. You're a straight shooter. I like that. Mr. Matthews also says that he doubts he's the child's father because he was only called to the hospital after the baby had been born. And not only was he called after the birth, but Ms. Hadnot didn't call him herself.
Tell me you had slept with another
You didn't
man.
ask.
I'm supposed to know.
I wasn't in a relationship with you in the first place. You was a one-night stand, and that's what it was.
Yeah, well, so obviously if I was a one-night stand, who else was a one-night stand? So that's why I have doubt.
Mrs. Matthews, do you know how unlikely and impossible it is to sleep with someone without protection mistakenly? Mistakenly get pregnant? Mistakenly having that baby? And then mistakenly marry them? There's no way you didn't mean that. Nobody can make that many mistakes at a stretch.
My everything. Terry was my heart. I was there for Terry through all her stuff.
And
no
I was
matter
there for
what.
her.
Grandma, through everything, with her grandpa, all that, I was there for Terry.
Yes, she was.
And she was there for me, but she betrayed me.
Ms. Terry Matthews is the sort of friend you never want to have. She might wake up one day and mistakenly set your house on fire, and then come to court and say it was all an innocent mistake, and that she didn't mean to pour gasoline on your roof.
Your best friend comes to you and says, I'm pregnant by the same guy too? What did you think?
To tell you the truth, Your Honor, and I told her straight up, you know what? You can have that, because I never wanted him.
Mr. Matthews is just acting obtuse here. Does he really think that Ms. Matthews and Ms. Hadnot were going to remain best friends after he got them both pregnant? How would that even work? Now, to make things worse, Ms. Matthews tells Mr. Matthews that Ms. Hadnot's baby might not be his.
Denied or said that Jamari was not James' son. I get on James when he get to getting into his feelings about his doubts. And I'll get to saying, James, let's go get Jamari. Let's do this and let's do that. I push that. I'm the one that goes to the door, picks up Jamari, and does that stuff.
Do it.
Horrible behavior from Mr. Matthews. And it gets worse because the 4-year-old in question is old enough to ask serious questions about his father.
Why my daddy wanted a DNA test for me? That doesn't make sense.
Well, obviously,
he's an innocent child. He didn't do nothing to James or to Terry.
You grew up without your
I didn't
father.
have my father at all while I was growing up, at all, or my mother. So I don't want my son to not have his father.
That's right, there's no reason an innocent child should be suffering because of the mistakes adults make. At this point, you sort of feel sorry for Ms. Hadnot and may think that the child is Mr. Matthews' biological son. Anyway, it's time to see what the DNA results say about all of this.
Case of Hadnot versus Matthews when it comes to the paternity of 4-year-old Jamari Matthews Jones. Mr. Matthews, you are the father.
Thank you. I told you. I hate you, I promise.
Do you know that feeling when your best friend goes running to your boyfriend to tell them all about your different escapades with other men? Well, Mrs. Stremke knows that feeling very well. Her friend told her partner, Mr. Jaramillo, about her different attempts with other men.
Claim your doubt is valid because you were present when another man impregnated Miss Stremke, and the family you thought you were building is not salvageable until you have DNA proof. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Miss Stremke, why is your family falling apart?
And now Mr. Jaramillo doubts that both of his children belong to him. It all began like this. That's right, Mrs. Stremke. Children are extremely wise, and you don't want your child to grow up in that sort of situation. Mr. Jaramillo says this is regrettable, but he really can't do anything about it since the paternity issues get brought up in fights.
When you got pregnant with the oldest daughter, Naviana, what was the issue surrounding her paternity?
I had just gotten out of a relationship with my son's father and had moved back to Iowa. Well, I ended up where I had slept with another man. And this is before me and Mr. Jaramillo had gotten together.
Now, Mr. Jaramillo had never met this friend before, but he believed every word she said. Mrs. Stremke, of course, knew the friend in question and argued that it was all a lie.
Which I really don't understand, because how can you base your daughter's paternity off of some girl you had never even met?
Well, it was one of your friends, you know, you'd spent time with her.
What did she say to you exactly, Mr. Jaramillo?
She said that the baby that Miss Stremke had...
Another thing is that Ms. Stremke and Mr. Jaramillo had only been together for about a month before Ms. Stremke told him that she was pregnant. To make things worse, Naviana was born about 3 weeks early, which makes it seem like the child truly doesn't belong to Mr. Jaramillo. Instead, it's for the man Ms. Stremke slept with before meeting him.
About the time that the other males were present.
I was upfront with you and told you that there was one other person before we had gotten together.
You said one other person, and then came another fellow that your best friend told me about.
I had never slept with anybody but one person besides you, and that was before we had gotten together.
What about the second daughter? What doubts does Mr. Jaramillo have about her? And exactly how did he get those doubts? The answer will probably surprise you.
Well, it wouldn't be the worst thing because we're getting along really well. The question of paternity is not being brought up anymore. And that's when we ended up deciding to spice up our sex life and everything. And we ended up having a female-female threesome with him. So he got to pick another woman.
Mr. Jaramillo's friend didn't come over for pancakes. He came over for a different sort of cake. Mr. Jaramillo invited his friend to have intercourse with his wife, and none of the 3 people involved used any sort of protection. Imagine if they did. It would have protected both of them from showing up in paternity court today.
It was a mutual suggestion between Amber and I. We had gone through it back and forth between Miss Stremke and I. It was a toss-up back and forth. One minute she'd want to do it, the next minute she didn't. And from being with Amber, I know if she's going to do something, it has to be on the spot. So to get it done and over with.
Look, if you want to spice up your marriage, here's some good advice. Don't invite other people into it. If you want to add more excitement to your marriage, go see a movie, get on a jet, and go for a vacation. Anyway, let's find out who the child's birth father is.
Comes to 8-month-old Alexis Jaramillo. It has been determined by this court, Mr. Jaramillo, you are the father.